Today I'm going to tell you about French verb conjugation in the present tense. Okay, so first of all, what is a verb? Well, a verb is an action word. Okay, so most of you know that. And it describes what somebody does. Okay, so secondly, what is conjugation? Okay, so conjugation, that is a very important principle, grammar principle. But it simply is the order in which you learn verbs. And there's a universal agreement about conjugation. What does that mean? It means that everybody on our planet understands this specific order, which I will be teaching you today. And then thirdly, what is the present tense? Okay, so the present tense is when the verb describes an action in the now. Okay, so this is exactly what the present tense is. And this is the tense we are going to focus on. Here is the order. As you can see, you have probably seen this before. First, second, third person singular. First, second, third person plural. So in English, it would be this. I is the first person singular. You is the second person singular. He, she, it, or one is the third person singular. First person plural, we. Second person plural, you. And third person plural, they. The best way to learn this is by pointing. So it goes like that. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's get into here, into the camera. 1, 2, 3. Can you see that the first time I just use one finger because I'm indicating it's one person singular, and the second time around I use various fingers. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I talk to you about somebody, and that somebody can be a he, a she, an it, or one. Okay, and the same in the plural. We talk to you about people over there, which is they. Yeah, so can you see it's the same principle in the singular and the plural? I, you, he, we, you, they. You don't have to say he, she, it, one, because we know that he also means she and it and one. So there's no need to mention all of them. When you conjugate, you typically just name one pronoun. So I'm going to conjugate a couple of verbs. So the verb to give. I give, you give, he gives, we give, you give, they give. This is so important, and as you know, as you might guess, this applies to all European languages. Okay. So let's conjugate another one. To want to. I want to, you want to, he wants to, we want to, you want to, they want to. And I can conjugate any of these verbs in any tense. So let's conjugate the verb to annoy in the future tense. I will annoy, you will annoy, he will annoy, we will annoy, you will annoy, they will annoy. So the first thing you need to do is to learn this order. So stop the video and memorize this order now. All these words are called subject pronouns, okay? And this is another concept that I want you to start remembering. Subject pronouns. So, as I mentioned before, this conjugation order applies to all European languages and non-European languages. But let's stick with the European languages. So let's start with the verb to drink. I drink, you drink, he drinks. That's fairly easy. Can you see how simple English is? You only need to add an S in the third person singular. Let's go over to German. So zeigen, that means to show. Therefore, you know straight away that the second one down du zeigst means you show. Sie zeigen, because it's the same order, that means they show. Okay? And so on and so forth. This applies to all these languages. So if we go to Italian, for instance, io mangisco, okay? That means I eat. Okay, so immediately I don't speak Italian, but I know that io means I. Okay, so it's that important. Notice that in most languages you need to hang on endings. Not so much in English, yeah? And notice that here we have a variety of endings which you need to memorize. Okay, so but how does it work? Let's look at French, which is really what we're doing today. So manger, that means to eat. Here, this is what you would call the stem. Okay. Notice that the stem is the part of the verb that doesn't change. Okay, so it looks like a stem. If I draw some branches, then it looks a bit like a tree, yeah, like that. But each person, okay, has got its own ending. So as you can see, in this case, the I, the je, needs an E, the tu needs an ES, and so on and so forth. So when you think about conjugation, you always have to think, right, what is the stem? What is the ending? Okay, what is the stem? What's the ending? What's the stem? What's the ending? Now, getting to the stem tends to be a very, very easy, procedure. All you do is you look at the verb, take off the last two letters, okay? And you get to the stem. That's all you have to do. Really, really simple. Okay, so let's go and do some French conjugation. So the first thing you need to know, obviously, is the personal subject pronouns in French. And here we go. These are the subject pronouns. Je, I. Tu, you in the singular. Il, he. Elle, she. Ce. Now this one means one. Like in English, you have a pronoun that allows you to make generalizations. When one uses the pronoun one refers to everyone. But in French, it doesn't sound as posh, yeah? In French, it's an everyday pronoun. Let's go to the first person plural. It's nous. Second person plural, vous. Okay, and that means we, you plural. Il, that means they in the masculine. Elle, that means they in the feminine. And that's it. So what I want you to do now is I want you to stop the video and learn the pronouns. Okay, so let's do a bit of a recap. So what did je mean? I. Tu. You singular. Il. He. Elle. She. Ce. One. Nous. We. Vous. You plural. And it also means it's another type of you, which I will explain in a second. And let's go to the end first. Il, that means they. And elle also means they, but that one's masculine and that one's feminine. So most languages have one pronoun that allows you to show respect. Yeah, so if you were to talk to an adult that you don't know, you wouldn't call them tu, okay? You would call them vous. It's a sign of respect. In English, you don't have that. What you do, the way to get around it in English is to use titles. Sir, Madam, Mr, and so on. Okay? So please make sure that you know the subject pronouns in French really, really well. Okay, now we are going to do some conjugating. So look at this table. We have 3 types of verbs. But whenever you learn verbs, whenever you present a verb, you present them in a form called the infinitive. Now, the infinitive is the to form of the verb. Yeah, it's the in other words, it's the base verb. Okay. So parler means to speak, finir, to finish, prendre, to take. There's 3 types of infinitives, and the way to identify them is by looking at the end. Okay, so parler is what you call an ER infinitive. Finir is what you call an IR infinitive. And prendre is what you call an RE infinitive. Okay, but French is really simple. If it's an ER infinitive, okay, the endings are ES, and then these 3. But notice that the plural endings are always the same for all verbs. Yeah, so here you've already got all the plural endings in one go. Yeah, ONS, EZ, ENT. Right, okay. Now, if it's not EESE, then it generally is SST or XXT, which is very similar. You can almost guess the answers, yeah? So if it's an ER verb, you will take these endings, EESE, then the plural endings that apply, to all verbs. Otherwise, it's probably going to be something with SST. If it's not a T, it's a D, okay? If it's not an S, it might be an X, which is very similar, yeah? So I would say that French is probably one of the easier languages in terms of learning the endings, okay? So let's do some proper conjugating. Écouter, what does that mean? So it means to listen, okay? What type of infinitive or base verb is it, right? Okay, so it's an ER verb. What is the stem of this verb? And the stem is écoute. Now let's conjugate. So, je écoute. I. Tu écoutes. Il écoute. Okay, so nous écoutons. Vous écoutez. Ils écoutent. Now, when you get to this stage of looking at the verb endings, you probably already know how to read French. And one particular thing about French is that they drop most endings. So this conjugation sounds like this. J'écoute, tu écoutes, il écoute. So notice you don't actually pronounce the ending. Nous écoutons, vous écoutez, ils écoutent. So these 3 and the last one sound 100% equal, yeah? The difference is the pronoun in front. So, je écoute, tu écoutes, il écoute, ils écoutent. And then these 2 sound a little bit different. Nous écoutons, vous écoutez. Okay? So, very important. One aspect of French is pronunciation, one more difficult aspect. So what you need to do is really study all the pronunciation rules from the beginning. I have a video with absolutely every aspect of it that you should watch. Okay, so agir, meaning to act. So type of infinitive. Okay, so it's an IR infinitive. Here we go. Like finir. So it will work like finir. What is the stem of agir? Age, okay? So let's conjugate. Je agis, okay? IS. Tu agis. Il agit. Nous agissons. Okay, here you have to add an ISS. Vous agissez. Ils agissent. Okay? So I don't want you to be, worried about this conjugation business. It's not difficult. And especially you have to take into account that every single sentence has got a verb and every single verb needs conjugating. So by the time, you write, 10 sentences, you will have already practiced a lot of the conjugation. So let's go to the next one. Vendre. So vendre, okay, means to sell. Think of the word vending machine. What type of infinitive is it? Ari. What is its stem? Vend. Okay, so let's conjugate. It's an RE verb. Here we go. Je vends. S. Tu vends. Il vend. Nous vendons. Vous vendez. Ils vendent. Okay, so can you see how straightforward this is? Dormir is one of this type. Okay, so dormir is actually an RE type. Okay, so there's a little bit more to it. And this is why I have introduced it. So notice that some verbs ending in these, having these endings, take the RE endings. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So dormir, meaning to sleep. Type of infinitive. That one. Okay, RE, or right, the third one. But remember, if it's not EESE, it's SST or similar. Okay, so what is the stem? Dorme. Let's conjugate. Je dors. Okay, so just an S. Tu dors. Il dort. With a T, SST. Nous dormons. Vous dormez. Ils dorment. Okay. So there's obviously a little bit more to it, but when you take the language further, the repetition of this is so exaggerated because you can't get away from it that you will just easily and naturally learn it. But this is what you have to remember. ES, EESE, SST, and then the plural endings are the same for all of them. So all you have to do now is to memorize the endings and practice.